please stand as we welcome our graduates. Please remain standing as Alex Lim, Student Council President, leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all.
Family and friends, please be seated. Seniors, please be seated. Board members, graduates, parents, guests, alumni, and employees, welcome to the commencement of the class of 2022. As you may have surmised, I am not Dr. Michael Earhart. I am Heather Clarkson, Director of Enrollment Management and very proud member of the advisory team for this senior class. Dr. Earhart is unable to be with us today and sends his very best wishes. Over the past few years, we've become well practiced at flexibility, and I now have the great honor of serving as the MC for today's ceremonies. One of the bittersweet aspects of being an educator is that we get practiced at goodbyes. What can make this even more challenging is that after 4 or 7 years together, the bonds of familiarity and friendship grow quite deep. With the challenges faced over the past few years, this class, more than most, has demonstrated their perseverance. We gather together today to say congratulations to an extraordinary group of young people and wish them the best as they no doubt move on to extraordinary things. At this time, I would like to introduce members of our board of directors. Independent schools are governed by boards whose directors accept the responsibility for our school's long-term success, and it has been of special delight this year, the year of Cary Academy's 25th anniversary, to celebrate a particularly poignant milestone in the history of our school. As I list the names of our board members in attendance today, I'd like to ask them to stand when introduced. At the end, would you all please join me in thanking them with a well-deserved round of applause for their leadership and dedication to Cary Academy. Jim Goodnight, Anne Goodnight, Trudy Bates, Jeff Eakes, Jennifer Etkin, Manju Kakare, Eric Labor, and Bubba Rawl. Thank you. We will now hear from some very special individuals. All the students speaking today share the honor of having been selected by their classmates. Andrew Lake, will you please come present the special thank you from the class of 2022?
These hats are a doozy. One thing that many people might not know about me is that I used to be really into pottery. My parents, they certainly know. They probably still have my collection of poorly painted pinch pots and haphazard vases. But every summer, I would actually come here to Cary Academy's Summer Quest camps, do something fun in the mornings, and spend each afternoon working in clay. While the metaphorical potential of my time as a potter was lost on me then, it is luckily not lost on me now. Our parents are the most practiced potters of our time. From birth, we are a clean slate, a hunk of wet earth ready to be shaped. Every day since, each of our parents have shaped us into the wonderful people we are today. They don't know if they're making a pot or a statue, an architect or an attorney, but we know in their trusty hands, it doesn't matter, because we're going to end up all right. And sometimes, as I quickly learned during my time as a ceramist, the clay doesn't always cooperate. As my mom likes to remark about me, it acts like it has a mind of its own. Peculiar, she always says. But through gentle pressure, smooth guidance, and perhaps some compromise, it always seems to work out. Now, when I first met my mom, all those many years ago, she seemed invincible. And my dad, pretty smart, maybe even too smart for his own good at times. And it took me about 15 years to truly internalize that they are neither invincible nor omniscient, and that in that discovery, that their sacrifice is real. I think my pottery metaphor fails when you talk about that sacrifice. That's because, maybe I haven't looked in the right places, but I've never seen a potter put 18 years into a piece. I've never seen a potter sacrifice their own health or their sleep or safe driving habits for a piece. I don't think a potter has ever chased their art around downtown Cary or cried at its piano recital, or comforted it to sleep in the wee hours of the morning just before a big presentation at work. Thanks, Papa. An artist wouldn't be at every soccer game, or have watched me lose so many tennis matches in a row. There's no potter who would give a piece as much care, attention, and food as our parents have given us. If there are certainly fewer of them in the world than there are parents who are sitting in this room. So in many ways, the art form of parenthood is unique. But something that's consistent across all art, I learned from Miss Smith, the art teacher here in 6th grade, is that the hardest part of being an artist is learning when to put down the brush, when to turn off the wheel, to let the clay harden, to call it wraps, and learn to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You all might think you're getting close to that time, but don't worry, you're not. Your art might just ask for a little bit less help, a little bit less often from here on out. Just know that no matter where we end up, we wouldn't be there if it weren't for you. And I hope that when each of us cross this stage today, you're proud of your work as an artist, because we sure are grateful for you. Thank you. So, now will parents and guardians of the class of 22 please stand? And will my fellow classmates please deliver your thank you notes?
Thank you, seniors. You may be seated. The senior class has selected 2 student keynote speakers. We will first hear from Alex Lim, followed by Falu Ogundapa.
Students, friends, teachers, parents, and faculty, we did it. The class of 2022 is finally graduating. It's that time of year, a time we've seen come and go many times before. Spring rolls around, the flowers bloom, freshmen gain a little confidence, sophomores duke it out for leadership positions, juniors brainstorm quirky college essay ideas. Mr. Follett and Miss Jones start feeling like empty nesters, while Mr. Lazarski develops a little pep in his step. It's a process that I've grown to love. If I could go back, I wouldn't do anything differently. I love this class and these faculty members like a second family, so thank you for everything. However, as much as I have cherished my time here at the Academy, I have lived out some of my most traumatic memories with the students you see sitting up here. What a better way to begin a commencement speech than to take one of these said traumatic memories and pull a mediocre metaphor out of it. So let's set the stage. Ropes course, 6th grade, campaigns. Now for some context, this was our first trip as the class of 2022, a chance to make a lasting first impression on the people we would be with for the next 7 years. My outfits would be fresh, my jokes hilarious. My days of being weird in elementary school were finally over. I was going to be cool. Seeing each other in a non-school context was a bit of a shock. Eating dinner with your friends for the first time, sitting by the fire next to that special someone you were crushing on, realizing that our teachers didn't disappear after 3:15. Life was great, and we were excited to begin this next chapter of life. Until came time for the ropes course, a behemoth of a structure standing at nearly 15 feet tall, 5 times my height at the time. Was I intimidated? Yes. Was I going to let any of my new, cool friends know? Absolutely not. So I hiked up my neon yellow socks, made sure my neon orange shirt was tucked nicely into my knee-length khaki shorts, and began to climb the structure. Immediately after I got to the top, panic began to set in. This ropes course was far too high off the ground. The distance between me and the platform far too long. The harness I was wearing far too tight in all the wrong places, and I had drunk far too much water prior to mounting this course. Between me and the safety of the next platform was an American Ninja Warrior-style obstacle course suspended in the air. This was it. I was gonna die here. 11 years old, sweaty, alone, dressed like a highlighter. This feeling of imminent doom was not uncommon throughout our high school careers, scared of taking that next step, of making progress along the ropes course that is life. Starting freshman year was similar. No longer was Mr. Snively's kind face there to guide us, but rather the strange and terrifying faces of the faculty in the upper school. The world was thrown into chaos during our sophomore year. Our classes moved online, and our grades improved a ton in a definitely non-suspicious way. Junior year was its own world of terrifying uncertainty. We were unsure of whether the students in the other cohort actually existed, confused as to what the newly minted Center for Community Engagement was, and didn't know what the bottom half of our classmates' faces looked like anymore. And despite this, we have accomplished some amazing things. We are speech and debaters who double as swimming state champions, varsity basketball players that code in their free time and whip through physics web assigns. We are artists who can talk for hours about chemistry. We realized that this other cohort definitely exists. We took off our masks and were relieved to find that most of the class hadn't gotten significantly uglier since sophomore year. And now we know for sure, 100%, that the CCE, they do a multitude of activities in which we have grown to love very much. But now, as graduation season rolls around, I find that feeling of paralysis atop the ropes course has returned. As many of us are, I'm about to live away from home for the first time. I can't speak for the rest of my classmates, but I don't really know how to do laundry all that well. I get lost pretty easy. The only food I can cook is eggs, and the only kitchen appliance I'm proficient in is microwave. My point being, we're all a little nervous and feeling a little underprepared to take this next step. And that's where I'm reminded of the 6th grade. I want to say that it was sheer willpower and confidence that got me off of that platform, but rather, it was the people behind me urging me on, and the people ahead of me shouting encouragement. Brian and Cassidy and James Payton and my other advising mates didn't fall. They walked the course, smiling and laughing and cheering each other on. And so, sweating through my dry-fit shirt, I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, gripped that rope as hard as I could, and walked off. Luckily, the harness did not break. The rope didn't snap. I wasn't dead. One step, and another, and another, and another, until my feet were on the next platform. Suddenly, the impossibly long distance between the platforms didn't seem so bad, as long as I took it one step at a time. Now, I won't lie, it wasn't smooth sailing from then on out. I fell a few times, and I thought I was going to die the entire time, but each time I lost my footing, the rope always caught me. My advisory and I laughed it off, and I climbed back on the course. I held onto that rope until my feet were on solid ground.
As we get ready to graduate, I'll need to remember that fateful day on the ropes course. I'll think about how scary the path ahead looked and how even the most impossible of tasks can be broken down into little steps. I'll try to remember that although we're all going to move out and move on separately, we'll be doing it together, too. We might fall a few times, but that's part of the journey. We're not going to let the fear of falling prevent us from taking that next step. And most importantly, I'll need to remember to trust that rope. And so this is where my metaphor is really stretched to its limits. But to all the parents, teachers, and fellow students, thank you for being our ropes. Thank you for letting us lean on you, supporting us through the treacherous parts of life, and helping us reach our final destinations. Without you, we'd still be those scared, sweaty, highlighter-clothed kids from the 6th grade, terrified of taking that next step. And so, class of 2022, we are about to begin the next chapter of our lives. We'll have a chance to reinvent ourselves if we so choose, change our clothes, our jokes. It's a chance to make new friends or strengthen pre-existing relationships. It's a time to take the skills we've learned during our time at the Academy and leave the world better than we found it. So, the next time we are faced with a seemingly impossible, dauntless task, let's remember to take a deep breath, trust the rope, and take that leap together. Thank you.
During our freshman year, we had a hall meeting with Miss Sellers, who serves the dual role at our school of being both a college counselor and my favorite person in the entire world. She gave us a simple task. Raise your hand if anyone's ever asked you about college, where you're going, what you're majoring in, what your plan is, and to what I'm sure was her dismay, every single kid, and let me emphasize kid, in that hallway raised their hands. Cary Academy is a college prep school where we're prepared for college, shocker, I know, but to enter a college prep school at the age of 11 means that you're spending some of the most formative years of your life constantly looking towards the future. Middle school, it was always about the next thing. Middle school years were filled with the great debates, which I won, by the way, a mock Senate, and mousetrap cars. But we also faced anxiety about high school, which somehow manifested into a rumor that you have to reapply to Cary Academy after 8th grade. Not sure how we got to that one. Freshman year saw Camp Skeleton Adventures, paired with trying to find clubs, which we thought we could eventually find leadership positions in. Sophomore year, we got our licenses and won Friday Night Lights and Halloween Hall with our impressive and genuinely haunting Thomas the Train theme. However, we also attempted to decipher what the SAT and ACT were and whether there was something you really needed to study for. Junior year, we came back together for the first time, and we constantly stewed over how someone even begins to apply to college. Then we arrived at senior year. DJ Ross reminded us at prom that he's the best to ever do it. We had our last GSD in a 100-degree mosh pit, and we watched underclassmen attempt and fail to flip their furniture back over. But all these shenanigans were layered with essay writing, activity listing, sobbing, panicking, raging, and the other usual symptoms of applying to college. My point is that these past few years have been filled with great memories, and those great memories have always been clouded by the next big thing for us to worry about. But for the first time in a long time, this is it. We don't have a next thing at Cary Academy. I think that's the best place for us to be. It's always been easy for us to build our lives around our next steps. More school, a new job, the next assignment, commencement. What's harder is to be able to stop and enjoy where we are. I don't want us to just think of these past 4 years as college prep. We've worked hard to be where we were at every step leading up to now, and the journey was just as important as the destination. I think that if we aren't willing to focus on what we have when we have it, we never get to really live the life we work for. I want us to be able to stop and pause and appreciate our moments, but it doesn't mean that we have to stop where we are. Even as we sit up here and acknowledge all the great times we've had, I'm hopeful that these past 4 years won't be the best years of any of our lives. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that better things are coming, but that can't be an excuse to not appreciate the bonds we've built and the community we've created. I was talking to some friends the other day about how our grade is divided. There are people in our grade who are counting down the seconds until my speech and the ceremony are finished so that they can leave this campus and never come back. They want to start on their next big thing as soon as possible. However, we also know people who won't even speak about anything graduation related because they're so absolutely terrified to go. They're holding on to a school that we can't stay in. Personally, I feel a bit of both. I've met my favorite people and have made memories that I'll never let go. But to be completely honest with you, I am 1000% sure that it's time to leave. I've known that for a long time. What I haven't known until recently is that I'm allowed to feel that anxiety and that relief. We're allowed to feel both, and I think it's best if we do. We'll miss this place and the times we've had here, but better times are waiting for us, and we finally get the chance to go find them. Cary Academy is about to lose the smartest, most athletic, coolest, and simply best grade that it's ever had. But the smartest, most athletic, coolest, and simply best grade is about to lose Cary Academy. And if I could have one wish for the people sitting beside me, it would be that knowing this makes you sad and nervous and uneasy because you've stopped and reflected on your good times here. That it also makes you excited and optimistic and hopeful because you know that there's even better left to come. Most importantly, I hope that you're able to feel both ways at once. I'll miss all of you, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck on your next adventures. Thank you.
Thank you, Falou. Thank you, Alex. At the upper school closing ceremony on Thursday, we recognized many students for demonstrating excellence in a variety of areas during this past year. At commencement, we show our appreciation for the generosity and vision of Cary Academy's founders by presenting a special award. The Founders Award is presented to a member of the senior class who, in the opinion of the faculty and head of school, has acted as a model for all Cary Academy students through leadership, collaboration, excellence, and contribution to the school community. Each of Cary Academy's previous Founder Award recipients left a distinctive and enduring mark on our school. This year's recipient has done the same. This year's Founders Award recipient brings palpable energy every day to every space and every endeavor. She shines with genuine excitement and purpose. She's committed to making a positive contribution. She does this so ubiquitously, it's hard to know where to begin. A 4-year starter and all-state tennis player, she led the varsity girls and managed the varsity boys teams with unwavering spirit. An ardent novice trainer for the speech team, she helped develop a well-organized system to ensure 9th graders felt supported at practice and during tournaments throughout virtual learning. A charismatic co-leader of the Asian American Affinity Group, she has a gift for making any discussion topic engaging and fun. Quote, she embodies joy about everything, unquote, agree all who've taught her. Her curiosity is authentic and contagious. She delights in new ideas and making connections. Give her any problem and she'll find a solution. No vision is too grand, no task too small. As one of last year's Youth Engagement Summit leaders, she was instrumental in orchestrating a week-long program for the entire sophomore class, personally securing dozens of speakers. As a leader of CA Siege, she leveraged her connections with Student Council to partner with Seeds with other campus happenings, such as Spirit Week and Ubuntu, then rolled up her sleeves and personally rinsed out hundreds of milk cartons after lunch. What if we had a lead student who could help organize these types of environmental actions, she wondered, after a particularly successful event, and thus the idea for the Chief Environmental and Sustainability Officer, CESO, was born. A year later, the position was approved, and we were thrilled to recognize her as our inaugural CESO. Last spring, the faculty presented her with the Bryn Mawr Book Award in recognition of her intense intellectual commitment, a self-directed and purposeful vision of her life, and desire to make a meaningful contribution to the world. It's a perfect description of this phenomenal young woman. She's a catalyst for change and a force for good. Ms. Cary, would you please join me, as it is a great pleasure to present the 2022 Founders Award to Sydney Tai.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I am honored to introduce our commencement speaker, the accomplished film and television producer, Kip Kroger. Many of you undoubtedly are among the legions of fans of his work, including a little show called Ted Lasso, for which he recently won his first Emmy as supervising producer. Kip's path to success in the entertainment industry and on the Emmy stage represents many values that Cary Academy seeks to instill in our graduates. It is a testament to the power of perseverance, hard work, resilience, thoughtful risk-taking, and the heights that can be attained when you have curiosity, courage, and knowledge to relentlessly pursue your passions. Kip, a Kinston, North Carolina native, did not always envision himself as a Hollywood filmmaker or producer. Initially, he considered his interest in filmmaking, first discovered while at boarding school, nothing more than a hobby, a fun way to pass the time with friends. Later, as an undergraduate at North Carolina State University, he would pursue an interest in technology and science, experimenting first with computer science before ultimately graduating with a degree in biology in 2004. However, during his college years, what was an initial spark of creative interest would reach full frame. Increasingly, his weekends and summers were dedicated to honing his creative filmmaking and production skills. He pursued creative summer internships that took him around the country and the world and partnered on creative collaborations that resulted in numerous resume-building music videos, film shorts, and documentaries. By college graduation, the pull towards his true passion had become undeniable and irresistible. In 2005, he took a leap of faith, packing everything he owned in a U-Haul and driving across country to California to try his hand at television and movies. Kip quickly landed a role as production assistant on the sets of Scrubs, working under its creator, famed television producer, Bill Lawrence. Over the next decade, he worked his way up the production ladder, racking up credits on a variety of other shows, including Cougar Town, Whiskey Cavalier, Life Sentence, Undateable, Malibu Country, The Connors, Home Economics, before beginning work on Ted Lasso in 2019. While Kip currently lives in Sherman Oaks, California, with his wife, Tara, and two daughters, Ava and Naomi, he will always be a North Carolinian and an avid NC State Wolfpack fan at heart. Please join me in welcoming Kip Kroger.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manju, for the introduction. I don't think I ever imagined anyone could make my wild meandering journey sound so intentional and driven as I've been through it all. So would you be my permanent hype person, maybe? Hello, graduating class of 2022, parents, grandparents, guests, alumni, and faculty. I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for inviting me to speak to you today. You know, even after that glowing introduction, most of you, except probably my sister, your Director of Development, Allie Page, are wondering who this guy on stage is. It's all good. I was just as surprised when they called me to do this as you are right now sitting in the audience. I think there was some confusion that I may, in fact, be Ted Lasso. The truth is, like Manju said, I'm a producer on the show, but despite our shared southern roots from Kansas to North Carolina and having the ability to grow a mustache, which I've spared all of us from seeing, I am not, in fact, Mr. Jason Sudeikis. As I've had to break it to other audiences lately, you got me instead. Like Manju mentioned, I grew up a couple hours away in Kinston. I went to NC State and then moved to Los Angeles to work in the entertainment industry. I spent a couple years doing a very mediocre job at getting coffee and lunch orders for people, but I kept grinding away, and I'm currently producing a few exciting shows, including Ted Lasso, which did indeed make me the proud owner of an Emmy Award. None of that ever happens, though, if I didn't make some big decisions early on. I remember my first summer in LA. I was working with my best friend, preparing to shoot a documentary about a school for children at risk in Soweto, South Africa. We'd raised money and done a lot of prep work to get it ready, and my friend's dad told us he thought we should wait a year and do it the following summer. So we drove up some side street in Los Angeles and sat on the hood of my Chevy Blazer that we drove over from North Carolina, stared at the Hollywood sign, and decided right then that we were going to find a way to make the film before the summer was up. So when we called his dad to break the news, he said, "That's good to hear. I just wanted to make sure you were serious about it." So we did go to South Africa a month later. We spent 17 days there. We filmed 55 hours of footage, and 3 years later, we released the film on HBO, and it all stemmed back to that night sitting on the hood of the car, making the decision to go for it. I want to take a second to give a shout out to your parents. You know, in the last couple of years, they've given up their freedom, just like you, their sanity, probably thanks to you, and are getting ready to give up even more of their money just for you. I will tell you, if you think you're ready to get out of the house and spread your wings, it's safe to say they're feeling that doubly. And if you suddenly miss some of those simpler times, like family dinners or game nights as you move into your dorm rooms, I promise you, they're going to feel that times 10. So let's give them a quick hand to drown out their tears, joyous or otherwise, just for a second. And since we're talking about family, I want to tell you a little about my sister, who you may know as Mrs. Page, because she's the real grown-up of our family. She earned better grades in high school. She got into UNC, which I did not. She got married before I did. She even had her first child a week before we did. She's always been a little competitive. I've studied her for years now to see how this whole adulting thing actually works, and thanks to her example, I'm starting to get it. And as you're all sitting there about to embark on this next chapter, I hope you're able to pinpoint someone in your lives that you can look up to like I do her, while making sure it's clear that you're still the favorite child. I want to tell you a short story that was either written or printed by a guy named Mark Chernoff, but either way it's relevant. Once upon a time, there was a girl who could do anything in the world she wanted. All she had to do was choose something and focus. So one day, she sat down in front of a blank canvas and began to paint. Every stroke was more perfect than the last, slowly and gracefully converging to build a flawless masterpiece. And when she eventually finished painting, she stared proudly at her work and smiled. It was obvious to the clouds and the stars that she had a gift, and she was an artist, and she knew it too, and she felt it in every fiber of her being. But a few moments after she finished painting, she got anxious and quickly stood up, because she realized that while she had the ability to do anything in the world that she wanted to do, she was simply spending her time moving paint around on a canvas. She felt like there was so much more in the world to see and do, so many options, and if she ultimately decided to do something else with her life, then all the time she spent painting would be a waste. So she glanced at her masterpiece one last time and walked out the door into the moonlight. While she was walking, she didn't notice the clouds and the stars in the sky trying to signal her because she was preoccupied with a very important decision she had to make. She had to choose one thing to do out of all the possibilities in the world. Should she practice medicine, Should she design buildings, teach children? She was utterly stumped. 25 years of walking later, the girl began to cry because she realized she'd been walking for so long and that over the years she'd become so enamored by everything that she could do, the endless possibilities, that she hadn't done anything meaningful at all. She learned that at last, life isn't about the possibilities, because anything is possible. It's about making a decision, deciding to do something that moves you. So this girl, who was no longer a young girl, purchased some canvas and paint from a local store, drove to a nearby park, and began to paint. One stroke gracefully led into the next, just as it had so many moons ago, and she smiled because she had finally made a decision, and there was still time left to revel in the magic that life is all about. I think the Cary Academy community may have a leg up on this girl from the story, though, because you all quickly identified and celebrated one another's talents as soon as school reopened with your own quadcella. You came together, and from what I understand, a bunch of you got up in front of everyone and performed after not seeing each other for years. And after 3 years of people being muted in boxes doing quiet snap claps so that your Zoom wouldn't glitch, you could finally hear the claps and cheers of your classmates and friends celebrating one another, right on the same quad you sat on as freshmen. It may have looked a little different than you had envisioned it, but you still got there because you let nothing stand in your way as you came together to make it happen. That ability to come together as a community is important as it's ever been. The world is filled with problems right now, and it needs all of you. The problems are too big for any of us on our own, but not for all of us together. So take big swings, go after the things you really want, and do it with your eyes wide open, because I'm going to level with you. It's going to be really hard. And you're probably going to discover, like I have, how adept you are at screwing it up. Get ready to fail a whole lot. It's all part of the ride. And the sooner you get started, the faster you begin to convert those failures to the stories that define your journey. I hear that of the 114 seniors graduating here today, you all are attending 53 different colleges in 20 plus states, which is a wider spread by almost a quarter than the average graduating class of Chargers. There will be days that you doubt your path. There will be moments when you blow it at a really epic level. That's normal. The biggest challenges end up making for the best stories, too. For instance, I remember my first consistent job in LA before I got to Scrubs was what I thought was the dream. I was at a production company with an Oscar award-winning producer, and there were only 10 people in the whole company. Initially, I thought it was the kind of place you show up, you prove yourself, you get a chance to impress your boss, and you launch your career. Nope. It was an awful job. I became an assistant to one of the producers, and I hated every single minute of it. I was very green, and in retrospect, probably not a great assistant, but I couldn't have been as bad as he made me feel I was. I would spend all Sunday dreading the following week, and when I was at my lowest, wondering if I'd chosen the wrong career altogether, that friend that I made the documentary with came to me and said he felt that we should probably break up professionally and do our own things because I was holding him back. So here I sat, across the country, by myself. I hated my job, my friend didn't want to work with me anymore, and I was really beginning to doubt my most basic choices that had led me to where I was. A couple weeks later, I got a call to be a post-PA on Scrubs. I was a glorified assistant, once again, getting coffees and lunches for people. But with that call, everything began to change. I quit that day, the awful job I hated, and within a month of starting my new job, I was working with a show creator I admired in Bill Lawrence, and his producing partner, Randall Winston, who became my mentor and later married my wife and I. I also started working on my own projects with a couple of brothers from Wilmington, North Carolina, that I met through my roommate, and are now not only the core of my LA family, but one of them also introduced me to my wife. All that happened because I kept grinding when things really sucked. I hung in there when it was rough, and I came out on the other side with the good fortunes that helped guide me to have the career, the friends, wife, and family that I'm blessed to have today. If you're lucky, you have an idea of what you want to do with your life, in your career. Some of you may know exactly what you want and have a guide to all the steps required to live your dream. Or maybe you're like me. and your parents are still praying you're going to figure it out somehow. For instance, I'll tell you a story about how my parents felt about me. I graduated college in December of '04, and I came straight to LA in February. Around mid-June, my mom called me while I was at work one afternoon. She goes, "Hey, how are you doing?" I said, "I'm good. What are you guys up to?" She said, "We're celebrating." I said, "Why? What are you celebrating?" She goes, "Your diploma came. You graduated college." I said, "Yeah, that's cool. Why do you sound so surprised?" She goes, "Well, we weren't sure you actually had graduated." And she wasn't kidding. She was very serious. They were very proud, but they had also been skeptical. And I get it, okay? I'd been through 3 majors in college. I finished with biology, which is where I got my degree. As you can tell, is extremely useful in entertainment. I spent my senior year prepping to take the MCAT, which I never actually took. And by the time I got to LA, my parents were supportive, but also nervously suggesting I consider going back to business school nearly every time we talked. I think I finally got them off that with the Emmy win. That was probably the best part of being up there on that stage. But I'll tell you one of the big shifts that happened for me in the last couple years. It happened when I was talking about an especially long day with my wife. I was working on the show Dave, another show, The Connors, and Ted Lasso all at once when everything shut down in 2020. Everyone was paranoid about getting the shows on the air, and my job as the producer in charge of post-production was to get the shows on the air. So after ranting about all the challenges and problems and headaches that I was dealing with for 20 minutes, I took a deep breath, and this is why I recommend finding a partner that always challenges you to be your best. Because my wife took one look at me and she goes, "Well, this is the position you wanted to be in, right?" And it clicked for me right in that moment, because I'd spent 10 years hustling to work my way up to be in the driver's seat. And I was right there in the thick of all of the chaos and all the problems, and it was my job to figure it out, which is what I had been aiming for. So I thought back 5 years, and I asked my 5-year earlier self, I said, what if I told you about today? And this list of problems and stresses I'm dealing with, how does that make you feel? And my younger self, who I envisioned as kind of like a Mario avatar, shot his fist up in the air and said, "I'll take it." And that was the realization. It was a clear sign of my own growth or progress or whatever you want to call it. So now, whenever I start to spiral from the stress and the burdens of everything that you're dealing with, all the problems you can have, I do a little time traveling in my head. I check in with my younger self and see how he feels about the things that are driving me crazy today. So far, I can report back he's usually pretty psyched that these are the problems I'm whining about that day. And he tells me to get my butt back to work. So don't lose sight of your younger self. That version of you will help you appreciate the progress you've made when your present self loses track of it. Plus, it's always nice to have the more naive version of yourself in your ear. It makes you feel really smart in the moment. And send some good vibes to future you while you're at it. Make some plans and set some goals that will give your future self some very interesting problems. And maybe get them in a little trouble while you're at it. You'll thank yourself for it when you do the time traveling exercise. Look, graduates, or I'm so sorry, seniors, almost graduates, you've done it. You've survived high school. So much excitement awaits you as you walk out of here today. And so does a lot of very mortifying embarrassment and what will probably become some legendary mistakes. Take your big swings, be a goldfish, and appreciate the things that drive you the craziest are the same things you would have given a limb to be stressed out about just years ago. And if you're still not feeling it, find yourself a hype person like Manju. Thank you again for having me. Congratulations to the Cary Academy class of 2022.
Kip, thank you very much for being part of the celebration with us and for your inspirational remarks. And now it is time. Would Shelton Shepard, senior class grade level leader, Robin Follett, head of upper school, and Ms. Carcare please come forward to assist with the presenting of the diplomas.
Members of the board, faculty, staff, administration, and guests, it is my privilege to present to you the following members of the senior class. They have met all the requirements to earn the Cary Academy diploma. Seniors, when your name is called, please come forward to receive your diploma. Would the seniors on my right please rise? Hagen Rad Adderhold. Rohan Agnihotri. Callie Bate. Leah Ledetta Bizwayo. William Richmond Brewer. Edward Alexander Bricio. Charles James Brocious. Catherine Jenna Browning. Alicia Morgan Chandler. Cheryl Chang. Ryan Nicholas Chase. Kyler Chen. Ethan Yuliang Chow. Gabriella Elizabeth Chikudo. Jonathan Ryan Everett Cobb. William Davidson Coley. Caleb John Catronis. Mark Robert Cunningham. John Davenport Denny. Ravi Prakash Dev. Alexander Joseph Dietrich. Jaslyn Dunn. Janae Chanel Edwards. Dina Jordan Etkin. Adam Ahmed Ferris. Cole Thomas Feckerty. Colin Scott Frazier. Kendall Ann George. Alex Ryan Goldstein. Ren Marie Cheong Gard. Arav Gupta. Sarah Barnes Haddix. Nicholas Patrick Halferty. Matthew Allen Handelsman. Catherine He. Charlotte Helen Hook. Cooper Jake Horwin. David Mackenzie Howard. Julianne Huang. Emma Linnea Hughes. Sadef Is. Grace May Jager Sandrook. Jacqueline Adams Johnson. Sanjana Jetwani. Owen Matthew Cadis. Sophia Kerr Kuderi. Claire Kim. Travis Jacob Kimball. Andrew Michael Lake. Aiden Zerahun Lema. Abby Lee. Alexander Lim. Lance William Lindsay. Sophia Liu. Matthew Holden Logel. Miles Bennett Lubis. Laura Peyton Lupton Smith. Would the seniors on my left please rise? Arjun Keshav Mondre. Gabrielle Bishop Madiaski. Rin Mani. Jordan Elise Miller. Chama Emily Modelim. Ijama Brianna Modelim. Estella Grace Monica. Oliver James Tan Moore. Aryan Nair. Isabella Giselle Flynn Nesbeth. Sierra Elizabeth Flynn Nesbeth. Marunfulu Ayobami Ogundipe. Alec Raj Palakurti. Benjamin Ryan Parker. Rowan Gitan Patel. Jack William Perez. Asa Arcadius Petropoulos. Christina Marie Polge. Sebastian Eric Polge. Casey James Powell. Miles Andrew Ramey. Cy Abel Reading. Natasha Gia Sacher. Anya Radhika Sachdeva. David Raul Salinas. Jared Alexander Seidel. Sonia Himanshu Shah. Neha Sharma. Sean William Sheridan. Jane Sim. Ashley Marin Smith. Shayuan William Su. Andon Schwartz. Sydney Huming Tai. Emma Raging-Gao Tong. Bryce Stewart Taylor. Gregory Holden Touche. Linda Tao Phuong Trin. Earl Runyon Tyler IV. Vineeth Raviraja Upadhyaya. Emily Yihan Wong. Oliver Yutong Wang. Hannah Claire Ward. Kylin Renee Washington Thompson. Brian Jian Wei. Lawson Wayne Wheeler. Julia Ann Wyatter. Jaya Marissa Weinmiller. Cameron Elizabeth Wood. Coven Hardison Wood. Zachary Benjamin Woodcock. Jonathan Darren Wright. Cassidy Elizabeth Young. Julia Grace Young. Theodore Guo Zhang. Sarah Yangting Zhao. Alyssa Sophia Zalfo. Would the entire senior class please rise? Graduates, would you please move your tassel from the right to the left? Ms. Kakare, I hereby present to you the Cary Academy class of 2022.
Graduates, you may be seated. Congratulations, class of 2022. On behalf of the Cary Academy Board of Directors, I would like to be the first to welcome you to the Alumni Network. It is so wonderful to see all these smiling faces celebrating you. What an impressive class you are. And oh, the places you will go. Just look at the list of colleges and universities listed in the program. You have been through all stages of the mask, haven't you? You will have stories to tell of your high school experience for years and years. You have earned this celebration. Oh, the mask. Let's think of it as, for today at least, make all smiles keepsakes. Cary Academy is a mission-driven school. We know it as DICE, and yes, we can be obsessive about it at times. We are motivated and guided by it to cultivate the graduates to be confident global citizens. We can't wait to hear from your future selves. As our community value statement reminded you daily, act with respect, integrity, and compassion beyond your time here. Don't be a bystander. You certainly were not as a Cary Academy student. Stand up for your values, your rights, and for those who cannot or whose voices are not heard. And keep the old and make new friends. The friendships you have nurtured in our community, and I mean this for actually parents and children and students, they will be with you for years and years, even as you go on to colleges, universities near and far. Spread the joy of curiosity. As you move on to the next endeavors, I hope you keep your family at Cary Academy close to heart. It is time to celebrate. Masks optional, smiles on. Congratulations again, class of 2022.
On behalf of Dr. Earhart, I would like to express my gratitude to the members of our community who have worked diligently to make this commencement ceremony so special. Michael Hayes, Aaron Yantz, Allie Page and the development staff, Jeff Wasinski and security team, Mandy Daly and the communications staff, Tony Hinton and the facility staff, and Kim Fogelman. You work exceedingly hard to make every commencement magical. And once again, you have been very successful. Thank you. To Cary Academy's faculty and staff. CA is not buildings, and it is not sports fields. It's not laptops and trips. You are the heart and soul of this very place. Thank you for sharing your grace, your wisdom, and your love with this year's graduating class. Finally, we'd like to acknowledge any alumni in attendance today. Would you please stand? Thank you for staying connected with your classmates and your school. We're delighted that you're here today. As we close, our faculty and staff will exit first to form a receiving line for our new graduates. Please give all the graduates the opportunity to exit through the line before leaving. We invite you then to join us for a reception honoring our graduates in the Fitness Center lobby, the building directly to the right upon exiting. Thank you all for celebrating with us today, and congratulations to the class of 2022.